I did take this bike out for a ride from the dealership to here, but also I went on a weekend ride with it. I'm absolutely stunned and shocked about this bike because it looks a little bulky. And I'm gonna say this, I say it for most of the things that we see in person. This bike does not look good at all in the pictures. At first I was like, you know, what's that design? It's not very Ducati-like. But when I saw it in person, everything works out great. The bike is really big in the front, but it curves down to a smaller shape here and it gets bigger in the back. And that 245 rear tire, this is, I think that's one of the defining features of the Diavelles and the XDiavelles that are out there. There you go. Now that you got a few threads started on each one of those, grab your 2.5mm Allen and just try to tighten them down in a star pattern. Just make sure it's all tight, and there you go. The beauty of this fuel cap is you push down, quarter turn, and this cap pops off. You could fill it up and then put it back on. Just hear the click and it's on there. And that's as easy as it gets. Now your key stays in your pocket for your keyless go. And whenever you're at the pump, you could just press down, open it, fill up, go make some noise, and continue on. There's the rubber grommets that you got to put in place, and if you look closely at the radiator guard, they look like hexagons, but there are some round spots that these rubber grommets go into. It's also in the instructional manual of the product. They don't come with printed manuals, but if you go on our website onto the product link, in the description of the product, there's a link that you could click to pull up the instruction manuals if you ever want to double check something. The radiator guard is on, guys. I think it's safe to say it's the easiest radiator guard I've ever installed on any bike. There's a lot of access and it looks great, but we don't have it just for looks, we have it for protection as well. Now let's do the oil cooler guard. The bike is looking great. We did our first mods, our essential first mods, which is the radiator and oil cooler guards, caliper spacers, our TWM fuel cap, and our fender eliminator kit. And this rear end of this bike looks so good right now. We're not doing cleaning with cleaners and rags, but we're going to use some tools. We're going to get rid of some of the stuff that you see on the handlebar. That's where we're going to be focusing on. We're going to get rid of the mirrors. These turn signals aren't too bad, but then again, they're a little cheapy plasticky, so we want to get rid of them. I think overall it's going to look a little better. Also, the Ducati thing, the throttle here that they fixed on the new V4R, they still have it on this bike. We're going to try to address that throttle slop issue. But without going into too much detail, let me just start off. Let's remove the mirrors and let's get on with our handlebar cleanup. Now this is loose. We're going to be changing this too. Grips are on. Struggled a little bit the throttle side because there's a little lip here, makes things harder. A little bit of alcohol. it. So the bike did 148 horsepower in 5th gear. I think it did around 147 on 4th gear with the stock map. When we switch to the Brent tuning map, again, this is a better map, guys. So we're not even going to judge the power numbers, but on 4th gear it pulled 147, on 5th gear it did 145. The room was probably getting a little warmer, so it might have an effect, but I don't think so. I think just the map is unfinished, because we could see on the graph that you'll see on the screen here that up top it's a little unfinished. It's completely understandable. Brent Tuning did give me a disclaimer that this is not a power map, this is not a Dyno Queen map, this is a rideability map. And that's when you guys saw me when I was riding this thing. It's a day and night difference, and you guys will get my honest opinion, as I always do. You guys just heard the stock sound of this bike. First things first, I really want to make sure that we put a little more sound on this bike, a little more roar, because it deserves it. It doesn't sound too bad, especially when you're under load and you're riding it, but you know, I think it could be a little louder and more exciting even when it's idling, and it's gonna look a lot better too, guys. So let's push this thing back inside. Let's put it in the shop. Let's get this exhaust out, put the new Termi exhaust, and let's see how it sounds and performs. There it is, guys. This weighs quite a bit. Definitely more than what we're about to put on there. So our mufflers are on the bike. I haven't tightened anything yet. I just have the clamps in place to hold the exhaust up, because if you come take a look, we still have room to move these things around so that we can get the exact angle of them, so that we know exactly how they sit with all the brackets mounted onto the bike. And before I go any further, guys, I'm actually removing the DB killers, because I don't know how accessible these will be once we have the carbon heat shields and the, I guess, the carbon trim pieces on for this exhaust. And these are the DB killers. It's kind of cool that if you want to leave them in there, they look like they're Cerakoted or powder coated black. I don't think this is powder coating. This is either painted or Cerakoted. It just looks stunning. So let's get some of the team members, let's get their impressions, their honest impressions, and then I'll give it a start so we could hear this thing. Guys, it's quite the ordeal, because this usually doesn't happen when we pull out a bike for the guys to come check it out, because they usually hear it inside. I know they want to hear it, but I don't know. Some of the team members are here. Whoever wants to speak up and say, ugly, good looking, does the pictures do justice? Now is your time.
I think it looks way better in person. I like the fact that it's a lot narrower and this part's not sticking out. That makes it so much better looking on this profile for me.
Yeah, it looks awkward online, I think, but in person it's got a much more natural shape. The length.
Hey, the bike looked awkward online too, right, when they released this bike. What do you think, Herman?
Yeah, no, I think it looks pretty clean, man. I just can't wait to hear it out, you know?
Damn, so we got the stamp of approval, guys. Let me start this thing. I really want to hear it. Guys, now's the time. Let's give it a start. This is seriously the first start. Warm up, and I'll give it some rest. Let me go put on some gear and let's try to do a flyby somewhere, because I want to see what it sounds like when I'm on it. I was kind of knocking this, guys, but this is pretty heavy. This is solid. It's crazy. I didn't expect it to weigh so much. It's 1.16 pounds. And the Moto Corsa one surprisingly is only 0.72 pounds, which is cool. And we could keep this in our pocket in case someone wants to steal our DFL V4. And if you guys haven't guessed it, it's Dyno Day. It's warm in here. We're done with the dyno. It gained 7 horsepower, around 7. I think it's 7 point something. Maybe I didn't really do the math, but so it's at 155 point something horsepower at the wheel, which is what Termignoni said. Termignoni says it gains around 7 CV, which is 6.9 horsepower. I think they probably mean it at the crank, or maybe they say on the rear wheel, but it's bang on. But I think this bike will actually do more power at the rear wheel. Italian exhaust like Termi, an Italian bike like the DFL V4, and let's go pick up some well-deserved Italian sandwiches. And one more sound check, I guess, right? So guys, by a diet, I meant that this bike's gonna get some real weight loss because it's the new year. If you watch our last episode, we said that we're putting this bike on a weight loss program, just like everybody else's New Year's resolution. The DFL V4's resolution was to lose as much weight as possible. This rear wheel off, guys, is pretty heavy. I'm gonna leave it aside and I'm gonna just jump into the front side now. I'm gonna grab our stock ABS ring. That's the ring on the wheel that is for your ABS sensor, and then mount up the rotors along with it. We're using our ProTi titanium rotor bolts as well. So while we're upgrading, let's make it even lighter. But let me get this on. Let's verify the fitment with the caliper spacing and everything intact. And then we'll go put some tires on these wheels. Our plastic rear hugger and chain guard, well, the rear chain guard at least, 0.82 pounds, 0.48 pounds. I really thought this might be heavier for whatever reason, and take a look at this. No more of this. So here it is. I think it looks good. So I'm gonna be honest. Inside, my opinion was something didn't look right, but when I was looking at the bike, we didn't have this red piece over here. So it looked like there was too much going on in terms of too much carbon. But looking outside, let me take a step back because I have to. And have I mentioned how cool this looks? That looks amazing. But yeah, so I thought that there was too much carbon going on, and the absence of the color over here, the silver, I wasn't too sure. Now I'm certain that it actually looks really good. I would still like to wrap this in red. We may paint some of these pieces different colors, but as it is, I kind of like this piece that we haven't touched this yet, because also I think if we actually change this, it would have been too much carbon at that point. So even if you make this piece carbon, we definitely have to put some sort of a paint on there. But if you take a look, there's silver accent pieces here, here, obviously here, top of your forks. I think it's, well, I know, it looks amazing. And also, when I was looking at the bike, we haven't done the top tank cover yet. Everything is tying in beautifully. These little Dukabike pieces here really made the change for me too, because it gets rid of those pieces that says Ducati everywhere. I mean, we understand it's a Ducati, it's a brand name that I like, but once you see Ducati here, Ducati here, Ducati here, it's a little too much. It cleaned it up. But also these pieces now tie in with the gloss carbon that we put on the ignition surround. I don't know, I think this is it for this episode, guys. We're gonna do a few little tweaks and touches. Maybe put the color on here and a couple of the things that I want to do. We're going to do our official walk around. Until then, enjoy this beauty. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Until next time, guys, have a good one. Nicholas from Auto Laboratory came in and wrapped those things. And what I'm going to do is we're missing our little Gran Turismo plates over here. I'm going to get those on. Well, the first project on this bike is done. Unfortunately, you're not going to get a good view of it because I have to leave this to settle for, or cure is the correct word, for 1 day, I think. Or I don't know, I got to read what that urethane says. And this is on this side. And I just have to grab the windscreen right now to put it on. What do you guys think? It looks weird. What if we keep the red here?